So I'm going to take advantage of this nice Sunday to continue with the commentary on Mark. We're in Mark 13. This is session 57, the Eschatological Discourse in chapter 13. We saw a little bit already of the abomination of the desolation standing where he ought not. Let the reader understand. And then this admonition, or urgency of fleeing to the mountains, etc. This is an Old Testament motif of tremendous disaster, calamity, Sodom and Gomorrah, don't look back type of thing. The sense of urgency that is so essential to apocalyptic, which, I think it's really the attitude we should have. I think Professor Blenkingsop said or wrote that without this eschatological tension, we slack off in our morality. When we think we are settled in, comfortable, everything in order and nice and easy, our morality is not, it's like not doing exercise, basically. Of course, too much stress can harm you, but nevertheless, we should have in our spiritual and mental apparatus the element of you're going to have to flee one day. You're going to have to get ready one day for the judgment, for the day of Yahweh, for all the things that are going to happen and that are really happening and that have been happening in many lands in the earth for a long time. And so the idea of preparing to meet your maker, which is a line in Amos, prepare to meet your God, in the book of the prophet Amos, who was in Amos 4:12. For that I am going to do with you, Israel, because this is what I am going to do. Prepare Israel to, it's an expression regarding facing your enemy in a battle camp. So that this is the flavor of this chapter of the Eschatological Discourse. That one who is on the housetop not go down, nor enter his house, nor take anything out. You can think of these people with the fires in California and everything. Let the one who is in the field not turn back to take his cloak. Alas, for women who are pregnant, and for those who are nursing infants in those days. Pray that it not happen in winter. Notice that Mark doesn't have, or Sabbath, which I think Matthew has, because of the Jewish community that he is writing for. Talks about let it not happen pray that it doesn't happen in winter or Sabbath. Very interesting. For in those days there will be such tribulation as has not been from the beginning of the creation that God created until now, and never will be. Okay? This is the thlipsis. The thlipsis word. That is the tribulation word. This is straight out of Daniel 12. In those days there will be a great tribulation such as has never been seen. What Mark adds is that after this one, there won't be another one like it again. Something that Daniel doesn't mention. So that this thlipsis tribulation is such an important term in the New Testament. And so there you have this again, I guess, a link to Daniel 12, which is a resurrection for judgment chapter. The end of the book of Daniel. You know, Catholics and Orthodox add Daniel 13 and 14, but the end is really 12, and it says, "And you, Daniel, go and rest, and you shall rise to receive your lot at the end of the days." And this is what I was talking about yesterday. If the Lord had not cut short those days, if the Lord didn't cut short those days, no human being would be saved. So this is going to be such a terrible tribulation that the Lord has, shortened the time of trial to allow the elect to be saved. By the way, according to Raymond Brown, and I tend to agree, in the Lord's Prayer, Our Father, and lead us not into the test, this peirasmos in Greek is really the eschatological trial. So that it's a prayer, not, don't tempt me with a piece of cake or some other thing like that, but rather, and lead us not into the test, which is where I don't know whether I agree with the Pope, or I love Pope Francis, but I don't know whether I agree that Our Father should be changed to, and do not let us fall into temptation, because of the fact that God doesn't test anyone. That's what James says. Okay, God doesn't put anyone to the test. Well, yes, in the Bible, he puts you to the test a lot of times. Ask Abraham and some other people. So that I don't believe in messing with biblical texts, but that's another story. But for the sake of the elect whom he chose, he shortened the days, so that he and then he continues with, if anyone says, look, the Christ is here, etc., the Messiah is here, do not listen, because they will rise to lead you astray. Which, by the way, I was thinking, a little bit last night, and it's relevant to this, standing where he ought not. You've heard of the Antichrist, and the first letter of John says many Antichrists have come. But in First Thessalonians, if I'm not mistaken, maybe it's Second Thessalonians. Let me find it. In Second Thessalonians chapter 2, it says that the day of the Lord is not, coming so soon. First, the anomias, which here they translate the apostasy, but the lawlessness. Very interesting word, by the way. That's what grows in Matthew, and when love cools. So Matthew has this expression, get away from me, you who knock at the door, I think in chapter 7, you workers of anomia, you workers of lawlessness, or maybe even lack of Torah, which is where the French sociologist, Jewish sociologist, Emile Durkheim came up with the word anomie, this sort of listlessness, lack of direction, lack of leadership, exactly what we're living today. You could say you looked up anomie in the encyclopedia and found the United States of America, as well as many people in the world, but this would be the poster child for that. And so, and Matthew then says in a linked passage, and when the love of many grows cold because of the growth of anomia, then, kind of like the end is going to come. Let me find that too real quick. but when every day in anomia, here they translate iniquity, grows more and more, the love of of many of the majority will grow cold, but whoever perseveres till the end will be saved. This is the Matthew version of the eschatological discourse in Mark. So in Second Thessalonians 2, it says that, but first the uh, apostasy, I guess, has to come, and the manifestation of the man of anomia, the man of iniquity, the son of perdition, the adversary, who will rise above everything which is named after God or is an object of cult. So this man of iniquity, and I have somebody in mind, but he wants to take the place of God. From one extreme up to the extreme of sitting himself in God's temple and proclaiming that he himself is God. This is 2 Thessalonians 2, 3, verse 3. It's very close to this. When you see the abomination of the desolation, in this case, standing where he ought not. Here he gets to sit down after, maybe after standing or something. For false Christs and false prophets will arise and perform signs and wonders to lead astray, if possible, the elect, but be on your guard. I have told you everything, I have foresaid everything to you. But in those days, after that tribulation, so this is continuing, this is very apocalyptic. And if Jesus spoke like this, of course, he would be, in the line of John the Baptist. The axe is laid to the root, and fire, he's coming with fire. And this is, Daniel talk type stuff, apocalyptic. Gog Magog and Ezekiel. So that Jesus, according to so many scholars, was an apocalyptic prophet. And this is the kind of talk and imagery they use. But in those days after that tribulation, the sun will be darkened, and the stars will be falling from heaven, and the powers in the heavens shall be shaken. Okay, so this is classic language in the Bible. I'm going to share some passages with you. Some of them, I guess, have to do with the pregnant women, which I noted in my Bible, and I'll share with you because I think we have enough time. In Amos 1:13, you have this famous, thus says Yahweh, for 3 crimes of the sons of Ammon, one of the neighbors of Israel, and for a 4th, I will not bend, for having split up the pregnant women of Galaad in order to expand their territory. Then you have Isaiah 13:10. Let's see what that says. This is probably about the sky, maybe. So in Isaiah 13:10, it says, when the stars of the heaven and the constellation of Orion no longer give light, and the sun shall be darkened in its coming out, and the light of the moon doesn't shine, I am going to visit the inhabitants of the earth for their malice, etc. So that you have this language about cosmic signs when, as harbingers or announcers of the end. Isaiah 34:4, the whole host of the heavens, I guess maybe the angels, will go up in smoke, and the heavens will be rolled up like a scroll or a book, and its whole army will blanch, will get pale, etc. So that you have that. You have Hosea 14. Let's see what that's all about. Hosea 14, verse 1, talks about um, uh, that, again, the women will be ripped up and all that. In Revelation 14:15, very interesting. Revelation 14:15 says this, and I kept seeing, this is the seer, the prophet John, uh, not, any other John, and there was a white cloud, and on the cloud was seated one like a son of man, who wore on his head a crown of gold and a sickle in his hand, a sharpened sickle. And a voice came out of the sanctuary, or out of the sanctuary came out another angel crying out with a loud voice to the one who was seated on the cloud, put your sickle and harvest, because the time of the harvest has come. The harvest of the earth is ripe. And he who was seated on the cloud put his sickle to the earth, and the earth was harvested. Talk about a green ripper. This is the Son of Man as grim ripper. Very relevant to the rest of this. And then they will see the Son of Man coming in clouds with great power and glory. Matthew has taken this in chapter 25, famous chapter 25, the last chapter. I was hungry, you gave me to eat, etc. In very Enoch language, or Enoch took it from Matthew, the Son of Man, he will sit on his throne of glory. But here, scholars have said that this is not really a judgment scene. This is the coming of the Son of Man to gather the elect. The evil ones, maybe like in Daniel, they get punished with eternal shame, their own. But here, the concern is not so much with the punishment of the bad ones, but with the gathering in of his elect from the four winds. I have an annotation here that just reminds us of Deuteronomy. No matter how dispersed you are, I will gather you from the four winds, etc. And there's a lot of gathering passages. There's also a lot of dispersal passages. It's a famous one in Zechariah, where in Hebrew it's dispersed your soul, and in Greek it's gather, the opposite translation, because it's a different situation where they want to encourage the people. And from the ends of the earth to the ends of heaven, he will gather his elect. So that some say that this is not really a judgment passage, but rather the Son of Man comes to gather the elect. Whether there's an implicit judgment, definitely there is. I mean, whoever perseveres till the end will be saved, or he's shortening the time of trial for the sake of the elect, but not for the sake of the non-elect. The ones who didn't respond, many are called, few are elected. So that coming up on almost 20, I am going to stop there. So we're making progress with chapter 13. Then 14 will come, which is the beginning of the Passion, really close to my heart. And then the trial of Jesus, the trials of Jesus, and the crucifixion. And so we'll have that interesting stuff to cover.